greatest fear. I'm not worried about childbirth pain like a lot of women. I'm worried about you having two mothers and raising you to be the next Renisha McBriddle, Trayvon Oscar, or Oscar Grant. Combined fertility has maintained slavery in a new and improved capitalist society. I don't want to help feed this society our flesh anymore. I don't want to worry about beginning to say I love you one day and that be your last day, because that will be the day that the battle that we face turn to a war that they can't escape, because I will be the next Assad, the next Chris Turner. I'll be the USFG's biggest enemy when I make bombs in my garage so I can bring down the prison deposit for America, and for once America will have a target on its back. All the people hiding in the ground ready to take the White House down will rise up in the name of you, my unborn child, because you're going to be the revolutionary change to 6 to 49% of the prisons that are made up of black people that exploit our labor and sell it to our highest bill, where every 28 hours a black man, woman, and child in the United States is executed by a person employed and protected by the U.S. government. According to a year-long investigation by Max's grassroots movement, we have been in a genocide since the 1600s. Millions upon millions of course, yes, no one wants to acknowledge it. Our flesh is disposable population. The government puts more money to build the prison industry than they put to minorities' education, just hoping by 3rd grade we can't reach so they can throw away the key. And 313 black people died at the hands of police, security guards, and vigilantes. 313 cases that never get their day in court because their bodies look like me. And look how much the justice system did for the black community. Zimmerman is walking free. And the audacity to say it wasn't racist because we live in a post-racial society. The justice system scrutiny allows for racial disparities. Black women have been raped since the Middle Passage to this day. There's not one man on death row for the raping of a black woman. There were 455 men executed for the rape. In 1930 to 1967, 90% were African Americans supposedly raping white women. Oh, what's a coincidence? Another Roswell incident is this is still rising. We haven't got rid of slavery. We have only migrated from plantations to prison cells, to nooses in trees, to guns in the streets. Black girl that built America on his back and maintains it through her breeding. Now you listen to all that stuff and you're like, you just said fuck America, like fuck the government and a lot of the stuff that they agree with. But the argument there is that there are times when you need to call the police. If I get raped, I should be able to call on the police. My partner specifically talks about how the police doesn't always come to your rescue. No. And a lot of people think that black people should not call the police. But when Trayvon Martin died, when Renisha McBriddle died, who did those people reach out to? The police. There are certain times where we need to have security. Yes, it's not in the status quo, and it's a privilege to say, fuck the United States, fuck security, because it's already present for them. They don't know what it's like to not experience not having it there. So it's easy for them to say, well, we don't need it. Well, there are instances where we do need it. There are instances where people are going to get raped, specifically black women, where we're going to need to call on that person. So eliminating security or saying that we should be like, fuck the state, there are instances where we're going to need that security. Now, they specifically talk about it's the performance of this debate. And this is where it's going to be crucial, because it say the form and content. Now, in the debate, there's a certain security that they have developed at the point that when we walked in this room, they asked us, what arguments do you run on the neg? And when they asked us, can we get your cards? Are these the only cards? That is a form of security within the debate space. They are upholding the ideal debater when they do things like they say, this is a uniqueness question, this is a meta level question, this is a root cause question. They are upholding not only the security of debate, but they are upholding heteronormativity within this debate space, which is the reason why they're not going to be able to rupture this being or becoming of new. If they really wanted to, they would give you no timeline of where they're going. They would give you no form of what this is answering and saying things as its root cause and things like this. Now, we think that there are certain times that security is going to be good in this debate. I can't rely on you to understand everything that my partner is saying in her poetry, and I can't expect you to do all the work at the end of the debate. That they might have the privilege of you giving them the benefit of the doubt that what they said was right. But if I don't line up a little bit, you're going to be like, I don't really know where to put this. These are forms of times when security is good sometimes out there, and security is sometimes good in debate. Also, they talk about how heteronormativity, basically like blackness does not assume all of heteronormativity. But what is heteronormative was based off blackness. Everything that is black, like everything that isn't black is heteronormativity. So blackness or anti-blackness is the root cause of how we get to what is normal in the first place. Another thing they touch on is the idea of it shouldn't be forced upon you. You should be able to pick whether or not you want to be a black woman. This is what we're talking about, that privilege that we go back to, that we don't get to pick whether or not violence comes our way, because there's a certain level that comes with just the color of our skin. When they say, well, you should be able to pick whether you're a black woman. have violence perpetuated against me simply because the color of my skin. That specifically talks about how that is a view from nowhere. And we're going to read Yancey. Oh, also, they talk about how their speech acts is an act of breaking down white supremacy, but at the point that you got that, Coach Brown? But at the point that they don't even tell us anything about themselves, and they're like, well, we should be open to everything, and the possibility that is whiteness. The idea that everything is fluid, and we should be all of everything and all of nothing. So I'm going to read two cards right now. The view from nowhere, that most philosophical discourse fostered can theorize for the black body or hope to solve for the harms of white supremacy. George Yancey 05 says, the embodied self is bracketed and deemed relevant to the theory and cornerstone in one search for truth in its best, or so we are told to reason from nowhere. White philosophers and authors presume to speak for all of us without slightest mention of his or her race identity. I disappear in an author. That is the whiteness of my authorship. The whiteness of authorship is a form of authority to speak from nowhere for everyone. Is empowered in one use. Power here for becoming lost in oneself. My objective is to describe the theorized situation where the black body is subjectivity, its lived experience, and reduce it instantations of white imaginary, resulting in what I refer to as the phenomenological return to the black body. These sensations are embedded within the involved complex social and historical intersections of white efforts to self-construction through complex acts of erasure and vis-a-vis black people. I.e., when they read a bunch of this poetry, but yet they mention nowhere where they are specifically within that poetry. Our poetry specifically talks about how we feel, i.e., when my partner said she has to be her own self protection at times, because that is the normative way of doing things. I'm trying to say that. Also, they use culture as a reference rather than a resource. That's Volume 12. The sensibility of the women's paradigm is debunking the narrow genering of space, results the principle of the theory application of culture as a rich resource in seeking answers to the fundamental questions of human life and society. We must constantly dialogue with African culture to reach back and recover what is best in the practices, its paradigms, its possibilities, its visions, and values, to reconstruct them and enrich our present and frame, support our future in the most African-centered and beneficial ways. Women in which our view is ammunition from one big battle, the battle to decide what kind of society we are building, latching on the positive aspects of our cultures and model on a clear awareness of culture as an expression it builds on the positive in order to galvanize the social action against the negatives. When they say things like, we should include everybody, no, that is the eating of the other. That is taking other people's culture and saying that, oh, we think what you're doing is good, but in actuality it's whiteness, and it allows for whiteness to feed in. Also, when when my partner says, I'm sorry. Also there's the point where she says, should we, the question is, should we support, should whiteness exist or something like this? And it's like, no, that's exactly what our alternative is talking about, how we need to destroy it in all instances. We've already touched on that. I'm gonna lay on that. Also, okay. So, on the Malala Torres call, this specifically talks about how anti-blackness is the root cause of what legitimizes, when I was talking about how blackness is, how heteronormativity is comes to be, what is legitimized, what is seen as normalized, is based off the black body, and specifically Malala talks about that. So we believe that their framework or their role of the ballot, which talks about the becoming, we don't think that they even meet their own role of the ballot at the point that they are secure in the normalized ways of debating within the space when they spread and when they do the line by line. These are the things that securitize, these are the things that don't allow us to embrace becoming something new that our poetry could have done, or that them not doing like the line by line could have possibly done.
Yeah. Talk about anti-blackness as defining norms. How does anti-blackness explain structures of norms that existed before we define people according to their skin? I.e., like animal versus human. Like, how does the structure of anti-blackness explain those levels of hierarchy that existed before it was a question of whether or not you were anti-black or not?
You're not talking about those forms. So
right. I mean, I guess what my question is you're like, heteronormativity can't explain.
I'm saying like what is heteronormative is defined on like what blackness is. Like everything, people only know they're white because they know they're black, right?
I mean, I guess my question is
because they know they're black.
The one I see is like a structure against logics of that divide people by you're like me, you're not like me. How does anti-blackness go a step
because
further?
That's exactly what anti-black. Okay. That's exactly what it's doing. Right. Like it's saying you do, I mean, it depends on the situation.
Like-
Like I'm saying that the point is you should be, there are times where you should be able to call.
I mean,
It's
like, I guess what my question is if you had to choose metaphorically between picking up the phone and dialing 911 or gouging a rapist's eyes out, why would you choose to make the
First off, that example is done because you're not. Who's to say that I won't gouge out his eyes and call the police? Like
You
what?
ever been
I
raped?
mean,
I mean, dude, like, I'm serious. Like, when you're really being raped, are you still over here, like, can you,
I mean, like,
like,
I guess
does that really happen? Do women do that? Do all women do that? Can all fucking women do that?
the idea is the fact that you. The
No,
idea is
like,
that
be
you
realistic
already have the
here.
security of being able to
If you
call the
being
police, so
forced
it's
upon
no
you,
big deal
can
to
you do
you
that?
to not.
no, I guess what my question is if
Yeah,
you
it's
know the police,
metaphorically. It's
if
a
you
little
know
weird.
that the police are not going to come, why do you bother calling?
Because
Why not just do
Because
what you
as
have
we
to
said
do?
before, there are times when it is going to work, but not being able to do it ever is bad. There are times where the police don't come in certain areas and will not answer calls or come an hour late or stuff like that. But there are times when the police will come. What if the police officer is black? What if he's a black man? There's a time where I need to.
That's not really the point I'm trying to get. I guess
I don't know.
the question that I'm
Okay.
trying to ask is, if you have to make a choice, where's the bright line between choosing to call the police that you don't think
There is
will
no
come?
bright line.
There is no bright line. You're talking
There's
about
no
rape.
black and white.
Like,
Okay, it's all
your
contingent.
example is rape. There's no bright line.
I mean,
It
It's all
depends on the
contingent.
situation. Depends on the person.
Exactly.
Okay, so how does how do you determine that? What does that process look like?
We can, okay.
You
I
can't
just
I
told
mean, just
you
like that is whiteness right there. Just in the fact that
Exactly,
we
like
have to
you
know
get
what
the
you're
you get the privilege of saying like in this
We have to do
scenario
this
I
and
might
that,
do
like,
this. Like no, when it comes, I'll figure out what
that
I need to do.
predictability, like
Okay,
you have
so-
to know the
so
future.
I
Like
guess-
it's
I guess-
unpredictable.
I
Life
guess
is
the
unpredictable.
point that you're trying to make is you should do what you have to do in that instance. It's not something that
The
I
point
should
Well,
is that
we
you-
understand that when I said I always had to be
The
my own
point,
self protection.
the point is that you're saying fuck the state in all instances. We're saying the state is good in some instances.
Right.